Hey friends, welcome to Living in His Purpose podcast. Did you know that I'm on TikTok now? Okay, I'm not over there like all bells and whistles, but I'm there. Look it up. Living in His Purpose. You can find me and follow me and let me see what you're sharing too, because that's a whole other world. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here. Sometimes I look back on my life and I feel a deep ache of regret. I don't think I'm the only one on this. I think that this is something that plagues a lot of people. And it's not the kind of regret that fades with time. It's the kind that follows you around, like your shadow. It just never goes away. And it whispers things like, you should have known better. You should have been stronger. You should have done that differently. And for a long, long time, longer than I'd really like to admit, I listened to that voice. I carried it around like it was the truth. But regret, when we keep it to ourselves, becomes a very heavy weight. It convinces us that our story stopped mattering the moment that we messed up. And what I've learned is that regret isn't meant to be a prison. It's an invitation. Have you ever thought of it that way? It's an invitation. It is God's way of saying, hey, you need to let me go there. You need to let me take care of that. Because He's the only one who can turn what feels wasted, those really bad decisions that feels like you've wasted a good portion of your life. He's the only one that can turn it around into something that grows. And that's what today's episode is really about. How we can begin to put regret to rest and let God use it as the soil where something new can grow. When I first started planning this episode, I thought it would be all about 5 things I wish I could go back and tell my younger self. How to make better choices, how to avoid some pain, how to live a little more wisely. But as I started writing and reflecting, it didn't really sit right in my heart. And I realized that I was not honoring the girl, the woman, the young woman that I used to be. I was trying to erase her. And that's not redemption. The truth is, every mistake, every detour, every season of heartbreak has become part of the story that God's been telling through my life. If I went back and changed it all, I'd be taking away the evidence of His grace. So instead of trying to rewrite my past, I want to share the 3 things I've learned the hard way. Truths that are still shaping me, still growing me, but that have completely changed the way that I walk with God. Number 1, recognizing God's love even when I couldn't feel it. I think one of the hardest things about regret is that it feeds off of this lie that we were unlovable back then. It tells us if you had known better, maybe God would have loved you more and things would have ended up differently. Better for you. Everything would be better. Maybe you wouldn't have messed up so badly. But that's not how His love, that's not how God's love works. I didn't understand that when I was younger. I believed in God, but I didn't always believe Him. There's a difference, isn't there? There really is. I believed He was real, but I didn't believe that He was really near me. And I can remember nights when I felt completely invisible, like I could disappear and no one would have noticed. My thoughts were very loud, very heavy, and very unkind. And somewhere deep down, I had convinced myself that love was something you earned by being good enough or pretty enough or smart enough or do the right things or know the right people. And that kind of thinking shapes how you see the world. When you don't feel loved, your brain starts scanning for ways to fill that hole. You start attaching meaning to things like people's opinions, their attention, your relationships, or your achievements. So the science behind this is really fascinating. When we feel rejected or unseen, our brains actually process that pain the same way that they process a physical wound. It's why heartbreak and shame can feel unbearable. But God's love, real, unconditional love, heals differently because His love doesn't just soothe our feelings. It's not just topical. It is rewiring us in our thinking. Romans 8 says nothing can separate us from the love of God. Not our mistakes, not depression, not silence, not shame, nothing. That verse doesn't mean that God just tolerated me through my mess, which I have believed for a very long time. It means he loved me in it, right there in the middle of all the confusion that I was thinking disqualified me. And I still have to remind myself of that. There are days I don't feel loved, but I know that God is with me right here in the middle of it. But now I see that truth in a way that runs deeper than emotion. Sometimes when I work with women who feel stuck in cycles of guilt or self-doubt, we talk about this exact thing. You can know God loves you and still feel unworthy of it. But that's not hypocrisy. It's humanity. That's why Scripture tells us to renew our minds, not replace them. Renewing means we keep showing up. We keep choosing truth over the old narrative. We keep practicing what we now believe, even on the days it doesn't feel real yet. And with time, the heart will start to catch up. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, yeah, but I don't feel God's love. Well, that's okay. You don't have to feel it to start trusting it. Maybe today's the day you just start saying, God, help me believe what you have already said about me. And little by little, that's how healing begins. Not in a lightning bolt moment, but in the quiet repetition of truth, day after day, until that peace becomes your new normal. Now, the second thing that I've learned is that I have the power to choose. And it's okay. This is the bigger part of it. And it is okay to make mistakes. When I started understanding how deeply God loved me, something else started shifting too. Love gave me permission to choose. And for a really long time, I did not realize how much fear was running my life. I didn't trust myself to make good choices, so I just avoided them. I stayed quiet when I shouldn't have. I settled when I should have waited. I said yes when everything inside of me was screaming, say no, just say no. But love, real love, casts out fear. When you know you're loved, and you are, when you know that, when you realize that, I can make a choice. And even if it's not perfect, God will still redeem it. For years, I lived like life was just happening to me. And that's what depression does to you. It makes you feel powerless, like you're just floating through your own story instead of steering yourself through it. But as I've healed, as I've begun to see that God actually trusts us with something sacred, our will, our ability to choose, that is one of his greatest gifts. He didn't make us robots. He made us image bearers, which means he designed us to think, to discern, to decide, not perfectly, but faithfully. I used to confuse mistakes with sin. I thought getting something wrong meant that I'd failed God somehow. But sometimes a mistake just means you didn't have all the information yet. And it's not rebellion. That's just being human. God isn't standing at the end of the road with his arms crossed, waiting for us to get it right. He's walking right beside us saying, hey, I know, let's just start from here. Let's see what we can do from here. From a mindset perspective, that truth will change everything for you. The brain actually learns best, did you know this, through trial and failure and reflection. And really, there is no failure. There's just a different way of doing it. There's a better way of doing it. It doesn't mean you fail. And when you're reflecting, you're realizing that, hey, I tried something new and that was okay. It didn't go the way I thought it would, but I learned this instead. That's reflection. That's using that front part of your brain, that thinking part, that's keeping things logical for you so that you can control the emotions. Every time we make a mistake and process it, our brain builds new wisdom pathways. Mistakes are not wasted. They are data that's helping us grow. So when you start to see choices that way, you stop fearing them. You start asking, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I carry forward? And what can I just let go? That's wisdom. And that's how transformation happens, spiritually and mentally and emotionally and all of it. God wired us for renewal. I'm still learning this part too. There are days I still second guess myself or wait too long to decide. But now when that fear shows up, I see it for what it is. It's just a leftover pattern that doesn't run the show anymore. You do not have to have every step figured out. You just have to take the next faithful one. And the good news, even if you take the wrong step, grace walks right behind you. Now, the third thing I've learned is living with eternity in mind. And so the older that I get, the more I realize how much energy I've spent chasing things that don't last. And I don't say that like I've mastered it. Honestly, I still slip into it sometimes. I get tangled up in comparison. I worry about what people are thinking, or I obsess over the details of how something looks instead of why it matters. But God keeps gently drawing my eyes back to eternity. That's the thing about spiritual growth. It's cyclical. Every time I circle back around to the truth, the grip of the world loosens just a little bit more. We start to notice how much noise we've been living with, what we wear, what we own, how we're seen, how little of it actually feeds our spirit. And there is a relief in that, a kind of quiet freedom, if you think about it. Colossians 3:2 says, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Now, it's not about ignoring the world. It's about anchoring your heart somewhere deeper. When I focus on heaven, it changes how I live here. I start to see people differently. I start to measure success differently. I stop feeling like I have to earn peace through performance. The world's pull is strong, though. I still feel it sometimes. The pressure to produce, to perform, to please. But now I just notice it sooner. I pause and I say, who am I trying to impress? And usually that's enough to pull me back toward peace. Living with eternity in mind doesn't mean that we live perfectly. It means we live aware. We start asking better questions. Does this bring me closer to God's purpose? Am I spending my time on what matters most? And when you get to be my age, you realize you're more than halfway done with your life. What I'm doing with my time, it matters. But let me tell you, there's a secret. There's a secret here. The secret is no matter how old you are, your time still matters. It doesn't matter if you're 22. What you're doing matters. Another question we can ask is my story pointing someone else toward Jesus? That's our whole purpose in our life as Christians, is to glorify God. And we glorify God by pointing through our lives. We point others to Jesus. And that's what really lasts. I talk with women all the time who feel torn between wanting to live purposefully and feeling overwhelmed by life. And I get it. Purpose can sound too big sometimes, but it's not about doing more, okay? It's about seeing more clearly. Living bravely and intentionally in this world means choosing peace over perfection, obedience over our image, and eternal over the urgent. And no, I have not figured this all out, but the grip that regret once had on me, it's weaker now. The fear that used to paralyze me, it fades faster. And the pull of the world that used to distract me, it does not hold that same power. Because little by little, God's love keeps reshaping how I see everything. My past, my present, and my future. So those are the three things I've learned the hard way and that I'm still learning every single day. Number one, God's love is real even when you can't feel it. That you have the power to choose and it is okay to make mistakes. I encourage it. And the third is that living with eternity in mind changes everything. None of these truths came quickly or easily, but every time I circle back to them with more love, more faith, more grace, the grip of regret loosens and the peace takes its place. If you're listening and thinking, that's me, I'm ready to move forward, but I'm not sure how. You do not have to figure this out alone. That's exactly what I help women do. Recognize the thoughts and the emotions that have been keeping them stuck. Start replacing them with truth. It does not have to be a long commitment. Sometimes just a few sessions together can help you see what God has been trying to show you all along. Now, if that sounds like something that your heart is ready for, you can find my contact information down below. But even if you never reach out, just remember this. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not disqualified. Regret doesn't define you. God's redemption does. God isn't waiting for you to be perfect before he uses you. Every step you take toward him, even the ones on shaky legs or unsure legs, are part of who you're becoming. Or as I'd like to say, you're still in the making, who you're still being made to be. You're doing better than you think. Keep showing up, keep learning, keep trusting that the same God who healed your past is the one who's shaping your future. and that He loves you. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and stay tuned because next week is going to be a really big week. I have finally, it feels like forever, but finally, I have reached my 100th podcast episode, and it's going to be really special. I can't wait to share it with you. We're going to share some big treats next week. Remember to like, share, save, follow, all the stuff. Don't forget, now I'm over on TikTok. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I think that's all I can. Oh, and podcasts everywhere. Everywhere you listen to podcasts, I am. So share this. If what I'm saying resonates with you, share it, like it, make comments, leave a review, especially on Apple. That helps other women find this information. And if you have a conversation you'd like to have, reach out. I am here, all ears. All right. And thanks again for being with me. It really does mean more than you'll know. Have a great week, friend. I love you.